This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only.
Skyrocketing oil prices in the second quarter of this year led ExxonMobil to report the highest profit ever by an American company. So who else is profiting? And why are laborers not getting paid in the Arabian Gulf? Answers to these questions and more on Link TV's Mosaic Intelligence Report.
Skyrocketing oil and natural gas prices in the second quarter of this year led ExxonMobil to report the highest ever record profit by an American company. In spite of falling production and rising operating costs, Exxon brought in a $138 billion in revenue and reported an astounding net income of $11.7 billion. I've spent several hours listening to experts on various business shows on television trying to explain why oil prices keep rising and the relationship between a depreciated dollar and oil prices, peak oil, and so on. I'm not an oil expert, but why is it that whenever the US rattles the saber towards Iran, oil prices jump a notch or two? And who is profiting from all of this?
For far too long, we've had an energy policy that works for the oil companies. I think it's time that we had an energy policy that works for you, that works for the American people, that works.
Meanwhile, ExxonMobil and its stakeholders are not the only ones profiting from this petro bonanza. Oil-producing countries in the Middle East are swimming with cash and they're spending most of it on construction. At a time when US banks and financial institutions are in the midst of the worst housing market in the US since the Great Depression, financial institutions in the Middle East are prospering due to the ongoing construction frenzy. This boom is most obvious in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, but is also visible in most of the Arabian Gulf states such as Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. According to a construction expert, more than 1/3 of the cranes in the world are located in that region. Despite this petro bonanza, many construction companies in the Arabian Gulf are exploiting foreign laborers, mostly from South Asian countries such as India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. To keep up with this construction boom, foreign workers report exploitive working conditions such as forced confinement, non-payment of wages, denial of food, and excessive working hours with no rest days.
I
worked for a large company. I've had it and decided to walk out.
Over the past few days, more than 1,000 Bangladeshis have been deported from Kuwait, and hundreds more face a similar fate due to a recent strike staged by Asian foreign workers in Kuwait to demand better pay and working conditions. The strike in this major oil exporting Gulf state, and a major US ally I must add, came against a backdrop of soaring inflation and high prices. Workers have been complaining that they could not survive on their salaries once labor agents took their cut or unscrupulous employers deducted housing, medical, and meal costs. Some Bangladeshis returning to their countries last week said they had been beaten and kept in appalling conditions after being accused of taking part in the protests. As a side note, I read in the British press that a rich Qatari sent his Lamborghini on a 6,500-mile round trip to Britain for a service. The $400,000 supercar was put on a scheduled flight from Qatar to Heathrow, then flown back after the oil check. This made me wonder if we're just going through a phase, the era of the haves and the have-nots of oil. I'm Jamal Dajani for the Mosaic Intelligence Report. To learn more about this program or to share your thoughts, visit us at linktv.org/mosaic.
I'm Amy Goodman, host of Democracy Now!, here to ask you for support for Mosaic, world news from the Middle East. You know, in media news, a new study shows that corporate news coverage of the Iraq War has dropped sharply in the last 4 months. According to the Project for Excellence in Journalism, the Iraq War accounted for just 15% of news coverage, 19% of the network evening newscasts. We need more coverage of the Middle East, not less. We are talking right now about living in a time of war, And it is up to us in a democratic society to decide what to do about that. Mosaic provides information from the Middle East, from countries in the Middle East, from a Middle Eastern perspective. It is invaluable. And right now they need $200,000 to continue their work, to continue their coverage, to bring you their fall lineup of this essential program. The number to call to make your pledge is 866-485-8848. That's 866-485-8848. You can also pledge online at linktv.org. Please pledge as much as you can. Information is power. When you have information, you are empowered to do something about it. That's what Mosaic provides. Again, they're trying to raise $200,000. In order to do this, you can be a small or large part of that. Pledge 25, pledge 50, pledge 200, pledge 500. Mosaic needs you. If you've needed Mosaic for information, now they're asking you to help them reach their goal. That number again is 866-485-8848. That's 866-485-8848. Make your pledge, make it now. You can also pledge online at linktv.org. That number is the lifeline for Mosaic. 866-485-8848. Make the call that makes the difference. This is viewer-sponsored media. You are the engine of this program. Mosaic provides a unique perspective from many different countries in the Middle East. Please give your support to independent media. 866-485-8848. And thanks so much.
This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.